I mean, how detailed do you want to be?
As much as you can.
So just walk through my memories.
Yeah.
Thane. What do you
Walk me through it.
Yeah.
I'm already guilty, I might as well.
Right.
Amity, Maine is a small town of just over 200 people near the Canada-United States border. It is the type of place where everyone knows everyone. However, in 2010, the peaceful community would be rocked by an act of evil that rarely occurs in the Pine Tree State. At 9 p.m. on June 23, 2010, the brother of Jason DeHaan arrived at a mobile home owned by Jason's friend, Jeff Ryan. Jason had not been seen for close to 24 hours, and his brother believed he may have been at the mobile home. He had visited the home numerous times throughout the day, but on this occasion he shined his flashlight through the window and spotted a large amount of blood on the living room floor. He immediately called his father, and the pair entered the home to further investigate. There are more pools of blood on the floor and couch, and an obvious sign of a struggle. The men searched through the home and made a shocking discovery. Jesse Ryan, the 10-year-old son of Jeff Ryan, was found dead with a number of stab wounds. Following this disturbing find, Jason DeHaan's father left and notified police. Upon arrival, authorities conducted a search of the surrounding area of the mobile home and located 2 more bodies. Jeff Ryan was found in a woodshed near the home, while Jason DeHaan was found in a ditch at the end of the driveway. They had died from multiple stab wounds, while Jason's throat had also been cut. An inspection of the mobile home showed that there were no signs of forced entry. The Ryan's cat and 2 dogs were unharmed. There was no murder weapon left behind, and there did not appear to be anything missing from inside the home. Only Jeff Ryan's 1989 Ford F-150 pickup truck was gone. Investigators took 3 half-full Budweiser beer bottles and used cigarette butts for forensic testing, while every nearby police department, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, were told to keep a lookout for the missing truck. On June 26, Jeff Ryan's pickup truck was found in the nearby town of Weston. It had been significantly burnt, leaving only the frame of the truck. At the scene, investigators found shoe mark impressions and separate vehicle tracks. They also found another Budweiser beer bottle near the truck, which had the same lot number as those found at the mobile home. The owner of the property was interviewed and commented that he had seen a maroon Dodge extended cab pickup truck at the entrance of the field during the day of June 23rd. He thought that it looked like one that a man named Robert Strout owned. Robert Strout lived in the nearby town of Orient and was a former father-in-law of Jeff Ryan. He had spoken to the media about the crime, stating that he couldn't believe something like that could happen in the town. He also told police that he had no knowledge of the murders. Investigators suspected Strout knew more, and now with the witness account, they were certain. When they went to question Strout further, they noticed shoe impressions on the dirt track. They were very similar to the impressions left at Jeff Ryan's pickup truck. When asked about his whereabouts on June 25, Robert Strout told investigators that he drove to the city of Sanford by himself. This contradicted what Strout's daughter had told police earlier that day. She told them that a man named Thane Ormsby had been staying at the Strout home for several weeks, and Robert Strout had actually driven Ormsby to Dover, New Hampshire on the 25th. When confronted with this discrepancy, Strout admitted that he did take Ormsby to his son's home in Dover. On the afternoon of June 29, 20-year-old Thane Ormsby was interviewed by Maine State Police detectives in Dover. Investigators found him overly casual, and he would go off on tangents about his high school achievements. He confirmed that he was a cigarette smoker, and claimed that between the 22nd and 25th, he stayed at the Strout home. When asked about Jeff Ryan, Ormsby said that he had only met him on one occasion 3 weeks prior to the murders. He claimed that he had a Budweiser beer at the mobile home and had never interacted with Jason DeHaan or Jesse Ryan. Thane Ormsby voluntarily gave detectives his DNA and fingerprints and advised them that if they needed him again, he would be at the residence in Dover. With Ormsby's DNA and fingerprints obtained, forensic testing was able to determine that he was a match for the latent print and unknown male DNA found on the Budweiser beer bottle and the cigarette butt found at the crime scene. With this forensic evidence, investigators paid Robert Strout another visit. This time, he had a different story. Strout stated that on June 22 or 23, he was sitting on his porch when Jeff Ryan's pickup truck came up the driveway. Strout was surprised to see Thane Ormsby exit the vehicle and go around to the back of the house. He asked for a cup of coffee. When he brought the coffee out to Ormsby, Strout noticed that his shirt, pants and shoes were covered in blood. Thane Ormsby calmly told Strout, "I killed him. I killed them all." Strout claimed that Ormsby threatened to kill him and his family if he did not help him destroy Jeff Ryan's pickup truck, which contained evidence. Ormsby first incinerated his bloody clothing in a furnace, and then with the help of Strout, burnt the pickup truck in Weston. Afterwards, the pair stopped on Route 1 near a bog, where Ormsby dumped the blood-covered K-bar combat knife. Investigators brought Thane Ormsby in for questioning at the Dover police station. Unlike last time, they now had forensic evidence and Robert Strout's statement. Thane Ormsby eventually confessed to the 3 murders. He told the detectives that he wanted to kill Jeff Ryan because he was a drug dealer and a bad person. He stated that he murdered Jason DeHaan and Jesse Ryan because they were able to place him at the scene. He had also planned to kill another man he claimed was selling drugs, but eventually decided against it. Jeff Ryan took Ormsby out to the woodshed to show him nails, after Ormsby mentioned that he wanted to build a hut in the woods. When Jeff's back was turned, Ormsby stabbed him multiple times. He then re-entered the mobile home and stabbed Jason, who was sitting on the couch next to Jesse, playing video games. The 10-year-old ran into a back room and curled up into a ball, crying and saying that he was scared. Thane Ormsby stood over the child and stabbed him repeatedly. He went back to the lounge room to find Jason still alive and fleeing. He chased the man he had just met down the driveway and stabbed and slashed him multiple times before he dragged him into the ditch. When asked if he would have killed again if he had not been caught, Ormsby replied, "No, I was completely ready to settle for a normal life." While Ormsby claimed he killed Jeff Ryan because he was a drug dealer, police were unable to find any evidence to suggest that Jeff was involved with drugs. Thane Ormsby was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson. For those that had known the young man, opinions were split. John Frary, who Ormsby had helped campaign for during the 2008 election, described him as polite, knowledgeable, and hard-working. "The Thane Ormsby accused of murder is a stranger to me," said Frary. "During the time I knew Thane, I never saw any violence in him, nor did I even hear him speak of violence. He read a lot and was pretty smart, smarter than most people his age. He did his job skillfully and he was very good at talking with people. People who came to know him through me were amazed. He was very smooth." Ormsby reminded Frary of the talented Mr. Ripley for his chameleon-like ability to be able to connect with anyone he chose. Father Lewis Glidden of the Mardo Anglican Church offered a different account of Ormsby. When he was away, Glidden would receive troubling calls from his parishioners. "They told me Thane was having mood swings, he was going from one extreme to the other, and the ladies who came in contact with him were afraid of him and what he would do." Ormsby seemed to have 2 personalities, one that was manipulative and deceitful, the other that seemed helpless and in need of support. He got angry over little things, like if you suggested things he did not want to hear. His eyes would go as cold as ice. It would send chills up my spine, Glidden said. Thane Ormsby had a troubled upbringing. He would be subjected to both emotional and physical abuse at home, so much so that he would plead to stay at a friend's house at any opportunity. When he was 12, he was separated from his mother and stayed with his uncle. He was a bright student that would get good grades, but just weeks before his high school graduation, he decided to drop out. He had an interest in warfare and was particularly captivated by the stories of the Order of Assassins. His Facebook About Me section read, "I have but 2 passions, love and war." This was such a waste of human life, the Deputy Attorney General said. A 10-year-old child butchered with 2 adults who are minding their own business. We can only imagine the horror that Jesse Ryan felt as he ran to that back bedroom in a futile attempt to hide. The defendant decided he wanted to kill someone, and he set out on that path and didn't want to stop. A reporter for the Bangor Daily News wrote that his uncle pulled him from that house where he was being abused, ignored and neglected, and gave the boy a second chance. Thane ran into that house and saw a little boy curled into a ball screaming and pleading for a second chance, and he didn't give that kid another chance. While Robert Strout pleaded guilty to hindering apprehension and arson charges, Thane Ormsby pleaded not guilty to all charges and claimed he made a false confession and was only telling the detectives what he thought they wanted to hear. During the trial, Ormsby only showed emotion when his mother was brought in to testify about his troubled upbringing. He even remained straight-faced when a relative of Jeff and Jesse Ryan read a handwritten letter of Jesse's that described how much he admired and enjoyed spending time with his father. A psychologist testified that Thane Ormsby was out of touch with reality and believed he was doing a good thing by ridding the world of a man who he thought was a drug dealer, while also boosting his credentials as a prolific and precise assassin. On April 13, 2012, Thane Ormsby was found guilty of the 3 murders, and then 6 days later was found criminally responsible with his insanity plea shut down. He received 3 life sentences as well as an additional 15 years for arson. He has shown no remorse and claimed no responsibility for his crimes. He has continued to appeal his conviction over the years, but these attempts have been unsuccessful.
Anything else you want to say as we wrap up our interview?
I know sorry's not good enough.
No, I know. But you can throw it out there.
What's going through your head right now?
I'd rather die. Honestly, to spend an entire life in prison as a slave when everything I've studied and everything I've believed and everything has led me to believe that freedom is the most important thing there is.